You're really very transparent and very open. And for me, that's just a really big difference. My name is Morgan Harwith. I'm a co-founder of a company called ClearWater Holdings and our operating division called 360 Power Group. And we basically redesigned the architecture of electric motors and generators that are 98.4% efficient, over 80 patents on it worldwide. We originally worked with a local lawyer who handled everything, renewals, and then we switched lawyers and eventually then added firms such as yours who would handle the renewals annuities. We had we'll say, some challenges without naming names, just because we're a small company. We have our own unique ways of doing things. And it was always a challenge trying to get through to somebody. They seemed to have a fair amount of turnover, and there was no continuity, and it was quite frustrating. Even being able to budget intelligently and knowing everything that was going to happen was more difficult in the prior situations. Disagreeing how we best communicate and give instructions, and also if we chose to abandon an annuity someplace, it was always a challenge in keeping track of what was owed and when. The thing which I really liked about patent renewal, besides you were being lower or more competitive, was that you actually told me how the money was spent, as opposed to here's a single charge, where you, for the first time, I actually knew what the real annuity fees that were paid to the government would be, the intermediaries that would require on occasion, what they would charge, and what the foreign exchange reserve would be on it, as opposed to here's a single number that covers everything, who knows what. And so that really gave us, at least gave me, a level of confidence that you're really very transparent and very open. And it's understood what is owed, what isn't owed, why. And for me, that's just a really big difference. Besides being clear on the numbers, working with your staff on the marketing side to participate, work with you was very easy. Even reviewing your agreement, we had a couple of small changes we wanted to make, and done pretty much in the first conversation. And since that time, working with Abita, she's just a really lovely person. And if I send out something during the day my time, I get an answer the next morning. Given the time differences, that's pretty good. Being able to budget. Candidly, I basically took your information, put it into my Excel spreadsheets by month so I could easily see the list, and for planning purposes, and double check what I have versus what you have that comes through on the invoice or the recommended patents. But it really, for planning purposes and for my own internal cash flow budgets, and this just helps knowing what's coming up and when, even before I get notice that something's going to happen. We had some patents that are expiring in a couple of years. We just said, okay, let's abandon it. It's not worth the money. And we candidly sometimes went to the very end when we had to make a decision, send you money. And it wasn't like, because it comes due, and you haven't sent the money, we're just going to pay it and charge you for it. There's been very clear that until you have the money, you're not going to pay for it. And so that gives us the flexibility to do what we're going to do. I'll just say it seems to work. They give us notices, they verify that this is what we want to renew each month, and that the adjustments were made easily. People were just very professional in their group to work with. First is that I actually know what the real costs are for every part of the service that's being provided. And it makes me feel comfortable because I know what you're charging for you versus what you're charging for intermediaries to patent offices, foreign exchange, however that works. So that part for me is very open, transparent, and it's appreciated.